define justice,
Okay.
or you want to define happiness, or you want to define law,
Okay.
and you reach a point where definitions aren't satisfying and they actually tend to obscure the reality of that concept because of the analysis that you're engaged in.
Sure thing.
There was a period within the 20th century, there was a philosophical movement of ordinary language philosophers who said that this is a big problem with any kind of speculative analysis or philosophical analysis, the ordinary language philosophers. So this is, I think, a very deep critique of the entire approach of trying to analyze something that is so beyond human reason, or is so complex, or is so abstract or general. We can still have an understanding of those things. We can understand what law is, we can understand what happiness is, we can understand what a game is, we can understand it, even if we cannot give a precise analytic definition that covers all cases of our usage of that term.
Okay, sure. But then now, is there any definition you can give to Allah being merciful at all that actually captures the definition of what it means at all? Can we compare Allah's mercy to anything on earth to understand what it actually means when Allah calls himself either al-Warith or something?
Yeah, Allah's mercy is compared in hadith, for example, that Allah divided His mercy into 100 parts
and kept 99 for himself,
99 for himself and one for himself, and like the mercy that a mother deer has, for example, and not stepping on its child. So those are descriptions that are given by the Prophet ﷺ that does help us understand what this mercy is. Does that mean that we have a comprehensive, 100% encompassed understanding of Ar-Rahman? We can, because it's something that's infinite. It's something that is really beyond our understanding. But we can still get some understanding of it through the word Ar-Rahman, the name of Allah.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm glad you admitted that. The last part of this, before we can move on to your Trinity stuff, if you'd like, is then when you have all these 99, potentially more attributes, are they really distinct, or are they just the same thing?
I don't know what that means. I don't know what distinct means.
Are they the same as the other? So is Ar-Rahman the same thing as Ar-Rahim?
It's a different attribute.
Okay, so there's a distinction between them. They are not the same thing. That's all it means.
They're different attributes.
In the same way that my two fingers are distinct. They're not quite the same.
Yeah, they're different attributes.
Awesome.
Just like you can say that Daniel, in some moments he can be merciful, in some moments he can be angry.
And those two are distinct.
They're distinct, but Daniel is still one person. I have one mind, I have one will.
Okay. Now, when it comes to Allah, are these attributes both distinct and eternal?
Yes. They're eternal attributes,
Okay, so there's eternally distinct attributes. And are they a part of Allah or the whole of Him?
Again, I don't understand this part saying that it's one compartment or another. Just in the same way that Daniel can be described as angry at times or merciful at times, that doesn't mean that anger is a part of my mind.
But it would be. So the emotion of anger would be an emotion that you would feel, but it wouldn't be the whole of your emotional spectrum. So it'd be a part of it, as an example.
But that doesn't mean that it's a part in the sense of a part. You're equivocating on the word part.
So
that's the problem.
Part meaning it is not the whole. It is not equivalent to the whole. That's all it means. You have an emotional spectrum. You can be happy.
It's
sad,
an attribute of me without necessarily being a part in that way.
It's a part if it's not equal to the whole.
That's not the way that I use part.
How would you use parts?
As an attribute. As an attribute. I have the attribute of sometimes being merciful, sometimes being angry, without saying that is a part. I have a distinct part of me that is the anger part of me.
Okay, so it's a component
We don't talk like that, right?
We don't, but it's a component of without being the whole of. So it's a part.
It's an aspect of my personality.
Aspects and parts are the same thing.
No, the way that you're using part is that this is a part, like this is a component.
Let's use aspects. Same thing. Okay? So are these aspects of Allah really distinct where they are not one another?
I already said that, you know, they're distinct.
And they're eternal. Because they've always been there along with Allah.
Okay.
So, if that is the case, what you ultimately have is you have 99 plus really distinct eternal things that are next to Allah.
No.
So they share in the attributes of Allah in that they are distinct, they are not one another, and then they are separate from Allah, yet they are still also eternal. So ultimately,
But I
in a
denied
way,
that
you
entire
have 99
premise.
gods.
I denied that entire premise.
But you didn't.
In the
They
same
are
way
distinct,
that I
and they're
have
eternal.
99 attributes or 1,000 different
That are
attributes that I
created,
have.
right?
They're not. That doesn't mean there are 1,000 Daniels.
Wait, but your attributes are created,
Yes.
and they're not eternal.
So why is that relevant to the
Because
analogy?
with Allah, Allah is the only thing that's eternal. Well, it should be.
Yes.
But then if the attributes are distinct from Allah but are also eternal, that would mean that for as many attributes as you have eternal things that are really distinct from Allah.
No, they're not distinct from, just in the same way that anger is not distinct from my mind or from my will. Those attributes are not distinct from Allah.
Is anger...
They're not distinct from...
So-
anger is not the whole of me, right?
So it's an aspect or part.
I said it's an aspect,
Right?
yeah.
And then that would
is
then...
going in a circle.
Well, we are going in a circle because you're not quite getting what I'm saying here.
Oh, that's true. I don't get what you're
Because
saying.
ultimately, by the thought process that we've gone through, Allah has His attributes, but they are eternal as He is, but they are also distinct, and they are aspects of Him, and not the whole. So therefore, we have 99 plus, eternal attributes that are next to Allah, but they are really distinct from Him because they are not equal to Him.
You're equivocating on the word
You basically
distinct,
have 99
part,
gods.
all of this.
Yeah.
This is equivocation. It's still just like if I was eternal in that
Yes.
I'm immortal. I won't
Yep.
die.
Yep.
And I have anger. I have love. I have mercy.
they're also eternal
They're
and distinct.
They're distinct aspects of
Right.
me. Does that mean that there are 1,000 different Daniels
So-
just because I'm immortal?
I guess this will be the...
Yes or no?
this
Yes
will-
or no?
So this
Yes
will
or
be
no?
the main qualifier.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
The main qualifier
Yes or
would
no?
then be...
Yes or no?
Do you think that
Yes or
these
no?
attributes are abstract in the mind?
Is anger an abstract thing?
You could say it is, yes. Because, abstract to me, it's in the mind, and it has no causal power.
Yeah, anger
we-
does have causal power.
No.
I get angry and I swing at someone.
No, but that would be the causal power of the swing, not the anger. The anger can lead
No,
you to that.
the anger causes me to act.
Right, but anger doesn't actually have any real placement in the real world.
No, why? And this is exactly the kind of speculation
Okay,
that
okay.
leads
So
us nowhere. It just takes us nowhere.
We can have things that are concrete, exist in reality, like you and me and these cameras, and things that are abstract.
Is anger real?
I would say it's abstract. It's in the mind. It has no causal power.
Does any thought, does
we-
anything in the mind have causal power?
Arguably not.
Then how are we able to live? How can we walk? How are you talking to me right
So
now?
I would say that all comes from something called secondary causality that God has given to us. But as a Muslim, you can't hold to that.
So it's really God. I don't know what that means. Explain.
Before we go there, I think this can actually tie
No. Let's stay right here. Let's stay right here. It's very important for us to understand what you mean by nothing in the mind can
Okay.
cause anything in the world.
It can tie into a Trinity conversation actually. If we
Like, do you have a will, for example?
Before we venture too
Is
far away.
is will abstract?
1 second, Daniel.
No,
Before
answer.
you go too far away, because you asked me a question before I didn't answer, because I gave you two qualifiers. You asked me before that is the attributes different from Allah, yes or no? In the same way that your anger is different from your will, yes or no? And to answer you, I was just telling you that there are two kinds of ways that we can qualify things, either by being abstract, in the mind, has no causal power, or by being concrete, exists in reality and has causal powers.
No, but we don't agree on the mental attributes not having causal powers. We don't agree on that.
If you are angry or you think of a jellyfish or a flying dragon, it doesn't actually cause anything to occur in
It
reality.
does. If I think about a cup of coffee and I
Yes.
desire a cup of coffee, those
Yes.
are all in the mind. It causes me to reach for a cup of coffee and to drink it.
Okay, but you can desire a cup of coffee and get water instead. Right? Like the causal power, so there's a chain of causation that's happening within you when you think of a thing and perform an action. Distinctly, when we're talking about Allah and comparing Him to the mind, when you have these eternal attributes, are they distinctive? Are they abstract? As in, they have no causal power and they
I
only
disagree. They
exist
do have
in-
causal power.
Awesome. So they're concrete because they exist in reality.
No,
and
something
they
can have
power.
causal power without being concrete.
Okay, so in your mind, they are abstract and have causal power. Is that what you're saying about the attributes of Allah?
You can have mental attributes
Okay.
that have causal power, yes.
So the attributes
Like
are
my
equivalent.
thoughts,
Yep.
my will, my desire, that has impact on my body and how I behave and the choices that I make in a concrete way.
Okay, so you are.
you have control of your choices.
Yeah.
A moment, please, if you don't mind. A moment, please. So, just to sum it up, in your understanding, Allah has these eternal number of attributes that are eternal like Him. They are distinct because they are not each other, and they are not Him, but then they are abstract, but have causal power. Is that correct?
Let's say yes.
Okay.
What are you getting from this?
Ultimately, that's the problem with the Sunni understanding of
Why?
of God
Because I
as
said,
oneness.
imagine that I have these different attributes that are distinct from me,
But
and
are
imagine that I'm immortal. Does
Yep.
that mean that there's 1,000 or 1,000,000 different Daniels? No.
Not 1,000 different Daniels, but 1,000 different things that are like Daniel in that they are also eternal and immortal, and they're distinctive because they're not each other and they're not
So
Daniel.
there's not one Daniel. There's 1,000
No.
things like Daniel.
There's one Daniel and 1,000 things like Daniel. Exactly.
That makes no sense. It's just me who, in this scenario, is immortal.
So-
it's just me. One mind.
So you're
One mind, one will.
It's not just you. It's you and the things, and that is the logical problem. Sorry.
So this is,
That's
you're
the
begging the
problem.
question because you're saying
No.
that they're things.
Yes, because
That's begging the question.
You admitted that they are abstract, but have causal power and are not each other. So they
I
can't
didn't
be
say
allowed.
that that's a thing, like a concrete thing. I said that you can be an abstract and still have causal power.
Okay, well, you can't because in order for you to be concrete,
That's your claim.
If you're only abstract, you can't have any causal power. But just to say whatever you're surmising is the case, you now have one Daniel who has these attributes of eternality and immortality, and then you have 1,000 other things that are just like Daniel in that they also share these attributes that only Daniel should have. So therefore,
We'll say there's one Daniel.
there's one Daniel and also 1,000 other things that are like Daniel.
No,
So-
there's 1,000 attributes of Daniel. That's all
But
that means.
they are distinct and eternal.
Yeah, they're distinct. Yeah, but it's still Daniel.
And in your mind,
it's still Daniel.
Oh wait. Sorry, it's still Daniel. So the attributes are still Allah.
No, the attributes of Daniel, these characteristics of Daniel, are Daniel. They're a part of me.
So in Allah's case,
It's still one Daniel.
you know how you used the word part just now.
It's still one Daniel. That's the
Sure.
point.
But
You're not going to get 1,000 Daniels just
Okay.
because I have 1,000 different
So
characteristics
you're one-
that are immortal.
It's one Daniel made up of 1,000 things.
No, I have
You said
1,000
part.
different attributes, 1,000 different aspects, 1,000 different whatever. Oh, sorry.
So, no,
if
no
you want to say
Parts.
you're
Yep.
using part in this equivocal way. That's the thing.
But aspects insinuates parts. An aspect of me is a part of me that is not equal to the whole.
In the same way that me having the attribute of mercy or love
Yep.
doesn't mean that there's a part of me, like a part of my mind, that is the anger part or the mercy part or the love part.
Well, I'm not saying
That's what we started with,
I'm
remember?
not trying to tell you to segment your mind, because don't forget, your mind is potentially infinite. It doesn't have any kind of concrete box around it, correct? So I'm not saying segment your mind into quadrants. I'm simply saying
Then what does
that,
it mean to be distinct?
not the other. So in the same way that I am not you and you're not me,
Yes, because we have two separate minds.
we have two separate minds, but also a number
Just
of
like
other
the
things.
Father, Son,
Look,
and Spirit have separate minds
Okay,
according to
so,
Christian theology.
we can
That's
go-
why they're three distinct gods.
we can go into that
That's
now.
why it's polytheism.
We can go into that now, but just understand that by what you've just said here, unfortunately, you are admitting
I don't
that
know.
Allah is compartmentalized.
I don't think so.
And He has other things with Him that are also
No.
eternal.
In the same
So
way that
that's
if
real
I
polytheism.
was immortal, I didn't die, imagine, and I have different characteristics,
That are the same as
personality
you?
traits, that wouldn't mean that there are multiple Daniels. You haven't proven anything.
Personality traits.
Yeah, like anger, like mercy, like being loving, like being charitable, like being insightful, or
Okay.
whatever
And-
aspects of my personality that there are.
Right.
They're attributes of me.
Okay, but-
One Daniel.
One
if I was
Daniel-
immortal, it doesn't change that there being one Daniel.
As long as the attributes themselves are also immortal, or eternal in this case,
Yeah, there would be.
then they are the same as you because they're not distinct from you.
No, that's a jump. That's a leap.
Okay, so
Why would they be the same as me?
so they're the same as you in that they are also eternal and immortal.
If I'm not immortal, they're
So-
distinct from me, right?
Think about it like yes, they are because they're
Then
not
how
you.
does being immortal make them? So if I'm
if
not
you're
immortal,
yep.
I'm not immortal.
Yep.
My anger is distinct from me.
Yep.
We agree.
Yep.
Okay. But it's still one Daniel. Do we agree on that?
Absolutely. But you
But how
are,
does making me immortal suddenly make it multiple Daniels?
because Allah in last case, He is necessary, correct? That He can't be any other way. He has to be Allah. Because without Him, there's no creation or
No,
existence.
you're arguing for divine simplicity. divine simplicity is a position that some Muslims have, not all Muslims.
Yes.
You started by asking if I'm Salafi.
Yep.
Salafis do not hold the position
I'm
of
aware,
divine simplicity.
and that's why you have this problem.
No, there was no problem.
There is a problem.
There was no problem.
The problem still being, again, that your understanding of Allah causes necessary parts of Allah to exist. Meaning that either Allah is made up of things, meaning He's contingent,
He has different
or
aspects, different attributes.
The aspects and the attributes have the qualities of Allah. So therefore you have Allah, who is the God of the universe, but also you have another God of the universe, Ar-Rahman, another God of the universe, Ar-Rahim.
Ar-Rahman, or the attributes of Allah do not have they don't encompass
every attribute of Allah?
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, so then that means that your position then is that Allah is Allah because He is one, but then He has these attributes that when you add them all up, then you get Allah.
Why can't you address the example of me as a finite being having different attributes, but it not being a multiplicity
Because
of
Allah
Daniel?
very simple. Allah is infinite, He's infinite. And you, as a creation of His, can be comfortably composites. It's okay to say that you're made up of
No,
parts.
but my mind is not composite in the way that you're describing.
But it's created, so it's not eternal.
How is that relevant? How's that relevant? Yeah, we should move on. This is a circle.
Well, again, I have made my position very, very clear. Unfortunately, because of your thinking, that is the case. However, you said you wanted to ask me a question about Trinity.
Well, I already explained that. You have the Father. Can the Father think that I am the Son?
So there's a couple of problems with that.
Answer.
No.
Can the Father think I am the Son? It should be a simple no.
Well, again, it depends. What makes you think that the Father has thoughts?
Oh, so God, according to you, doesn't have thoughts.
What makes you think He does? I don't think He does.
The Bible. The Bible is the expression God is speaking, right?
Right, but it is also...
So when God speaks, are those thoughts? Are they the expression of God's thoughts or not?
So we're having a bunch of problems here. The first one
yeah,
is...
because you don't think that God thinks.
Do Christians... No,
or has thoughts.
God does not think.
God does not think.
God is eternally in the presence.
Does God have a will?
God has a will.
Does God have knowledge?
God has knowledge, yes.
Okay, so God has... does the Father have the knowledge that I am the Son?
Okay, so again...
Does God have the knowledge that I am the Son?
You're conflating a few things.
Why can't you say yes or no?
Because what is your definition of knowledge? We're using key terms here. See, again, right? So
a proposition like the sky is blue.
Right.
That's knowledge.
Okay.
Water is wet. That is knowledge.
Okay.
I am Daniel. That is knowledge.
Okay.
I am the Son. That is a point of knowledge.
Okay.
Does God the Father have the point of knowledge that I am the Son?
I don't agree with your definition of knowledge because it creates issues, but even for God. With your definition, if at some stage the sky is blue, but then we go somewhere sandy and it's orange, what would Allah say the color of the sky is?
Yes, the sky can have multiple colors. Right. I concede that.
But if we ask Allah right now,
that doesn't contradict my definition of knowledge.
It does, because yours is dependent upon things occurring before they can be true. So
no, things can occur and there's still a point of knowledge. Things can change and there's still a part of knowledge.
If we asked Allah right now, what is the color of the sky? What would He say?
It depends on what the color is.
Right here is blue, but
here, yeah. So here, God has the knowledge that the sky here is blue. Yes.
Okay, but if we asked Him what is the color of the sky on Earth, what would He say?
There's multiple different colors. If it's a nighttime, it's gonna be black. If it's if there's a sandstorm, it's gonna be orange. What's your point?
That's the problem with your definition of knowledge. I would say.
How's that problem? What's the problem?
The problem being that nothing is true. Well, if God knows all true things, only in a propositional manner, then there are certain things that will be added to His knowledge later onwards. For example, in the future, if human beings can teleport, if we asked Allah right now, can human beings teleport? He would say no, because it is true that we can't. In the future,
right now, yeah.
But in the future, if we can, then something gets added to Allah's knowledge that we can.
No, God has knowledge of the past, present, and future. It's all encompassed in God's knowledge.
But you said,
this is ridiculous.
You said by
knowledge. Can you understand the expression "I am the Son"?
Okay.
Can you understand that?
Then,
does that make sense?
To move on.
I am the Son. Does that make sense?
To move on one step further.
I am the Son. Does that make sense?
I would define
I am the Son. If you're not going to answer, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to walk away. I am the Son. Does that make sense? Does that sentence make sense?
It's ambiguous.
No. I am the Son is ambiguous.
Yes.
How?
What son of what? A person?
I am the son of God.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yes or no?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yes or
From a
no?
Christian point
Does
of
that
view,
make
it
sense?
does.
Yes or no? Okay, you
From
can't
a
answer my
Christian-
question.
No,
I
from a
answered your
Christian-
questions.
wait.
You didn't answer
Daniel,
one question I
Daniel,
asked you.
I
You
am
can't
going to
answer.
ask you a
I
question.
am the son of
From
God.
a
Does that
Christian
make
point of
sense?
view, yes. Now, let
Okay,
me
yes,
tell
from
you
a
what
Christian-
I mean
are you
by
Christian?
knowledge. I absolutely, yes, I am.
So then it makes sense to you.
Yes.
I am the son of God makes sense.
Okay.
That is a point of knowledge. Can the Father have the point of
We
knowledge
need
that
to
I am the son of
agree-
God?
we
Can
need
the
to agree
Father
on knowledge.
can the Father have the thought I am the son of God, or the point of knowledge that I am the son of God? Yes or no?
Very simple.
Yes
as
or
this.
no?
The answer will
Yes
be no.
or no? The answer is no.
The answer is no because of this.
Okay, can the
Knowledge-
son have the point of
Daniel,
knowledge I am the son of
Daniel,
God?
let me-
Can the son have the point of
Daniel,
knowledge that I am the
let
son
me.
of God? Yes or no?
Very
Yes
simple.
or no?
Knowledge
Yes or no? Can the
is
son
possessing-
have the point of knowledge that I am the son of
Daniel,
God?
let's not
Answer.
have this
Just
devolve.
answer the question.
Let's not make
You're
it
not
devolve.
answering the question.
I answered your question just
The
now.
Father,
Daniel. Then you
the
asked me a new
Father
one. Let me
cannot
clarify
have the
why.
point of knowledge I am the son of God,
Daniel.
but the Son does have the point of knowledge that I am the son of
Daniel,
God. That
let
means
me
they're two
clarify
distinct
why.
minds, and they're not.
Daniel,
They're 2 distinct
you're
persons.
running on a script. Let me tell you why.
You can't address the script. That's the
I am
problem.
going to.
That's the problem with
Allow
all
me.
Christian apologetics. You can't get around this
Daniel,
argument.
I literally want to.
Huh?
I want to get around this. Can you let me?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Daniel. For your first question, the reason I don't agree is because I don't agree that God only knows things propositionally. I would say, with like Aristotelian philosophy, for example, that knowledge is possessing an understanding of the form of a thing without becoming that thing. That is how God can know all things at all times without them becoming a thing. God can know all about a tree without becoming the tree. So,
Yes, I
in
agree.
the same way, with the Father can have knowledge that he is not the Son without becoming the Son, and vice versa with the Son. But if the Father only knew things in a positional manner, then at some stage in time, then he could say, okay, fine, well, maybe I can also become a turtle because now I know I can because the opportunity has come to being.
If
So
the
that's the
Father,
answer.
if the Father had the point of knowledge that I am the Son of God, that would be false, because he's the Father, right?
Right.
If the
But
Son has the
you're
knowledge of
presupposing
I
something.
am the Son of God, that would be true.
Right. But
Therefore,
you're
they cannot both be
presupposing-
true at the same time.
you're
They're two distinct
presupposing-
minds.
Right. Here's the
Right.
problem.
Right. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
right as in you're correct, but I understand what you're saying. But this is the problem. You're presupposing that God only knows things from a propositional manner, which is problematic.
It has nothing to do with propositional knowledge.
Your argument would be God
It's
knows
a statement
all-
about what
all
reality
things.
is.
And-
It's a statement about what reality is.
The Father-
I am the Son of God, you said makes sense.
Yes.
It makes sense.
From a Christian
So
point of view.
if the Father says that I am the Son of God,
That
and he
would be
revealed that,
untrue.
it would be untrue,
Yes,
right?
because
But
the
my
Father
point
is
is not
fully
about
aware
whether it's true or
that it's
untrue.
not.
It's about it's distinct, because the same point of knowledge that the Son has, that I am the Son of God, would be true. If the Father said it, it's false. If the Son says it, it's true. So that's identity statements about the Father and the Son. There have to be two distinct persons.
And they are two distinct persons.
Two distinct minds. Exactly.
No, one mind.
What is the Son? The Son is
But-
God.
okay.
And what is the Father?
No, wait.
So put Son next to Father.
They're two distinct minds. That's the point.
What he's saying?
Let me not have it default.
Hey, Assalamualaikum.
Sorry,
Hey,
Daniel.
Assalamualaikum.
Daniel. Okay, well,
Yeah, let's go, because this is going in circles.
Okay, so-
well, you made your point, I made my point.
Okay, all right, well,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
But your God has parts, unfortunately.
Yeah, your Trinity makes absolutely no sense.
It does.
Unfortunately.
If you read more into it. that's fine.
Unfortunately.
You done a good job, man. Like this guy's never gonna.
This guy just sort of challenged and I asked